Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem, and in today's top stories. Tensions continue to run high in and around Israel. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas asserts that there will be no regional peace unless the Palestinians attain statehood. Prime Minister Beniamin Netanyahu addresses the United Nations General Assembly. Tensions continue to run high in and around Israel, with separate terror attacks, disturbances, and cross-border strikes reported in Jerusalem, the so-called West Bank districts of Judea, Samaria, and the Jordan Valley, along the Israel-Gaza security barrier, and in Syria. Yesterday evening, at approximately 5:07 p.m., IDF tanks struck two temporary structures which were used by the Syrian army and violated the 1974 disengagement agreement between Israel and Syria in El Altina in Mount Hermon. The IDF spokesperson's unit noted that the strike was carried out after IDF soldiers identified the two structures in the area of the security zone on Wednesday. Moreover, the IDF stressed that the IDF holds the Syrian regime responsible for all activities occurring within its territory and will not allow any attempts to violate Israeli sovereignty. Meanwhile, yesterday evening, a terror attack was successfully averted when two Israeli security guards identified a suspicious individual near a light rail stop adjacent to the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Givat HaMiftar.
ראינו שנכנסת רכבת לכיוון שלנו, חצינו כדי לקבל אותה. באותו זמן הבחור ישב בספסל שם, הרכבת יצאה מהתחנה, והוא קם נעמד, דיבר בטלפון, אנחנו המשכנו לכיוון התחנה, לסוף התחנה. אמרתי למאבטח שהיה איתי, משהו פה לא נראה לי, בוא נעבור רגע לידו נראה מה קורה. שאל אותי אם צריך לתת חשוד, אמרתי לו לא, בוא רק נעבור, עברתי, אמרתי לו מה קורה, ואותו רגע עולה לי רמת חשד גבוהה, הזדהיתי. הוא אמר רגע, ברק אחורה, בא להוציא משהו לא דחוף במקיף הזה או הזה, המאבטח נצמד, הוא בא לתת לו דקירה בכיוון החזה, המאבטח התעמת איתו, קיבל דקירה ביד, צעק דקירה, אוטומטית, אני סיפרתי עמדה, שלפתי, שחררתי מספר כדורים, המאבטח, ונעצרתי עם הכדורים כדי לא לפגוע במאבטח שאיתי, המאבטח קם, הוא עדיין המשיך לרוץ, המחבל, גם שחרר מספר כדורים, באותו רגע עליתי, תקריא, גילת המבטח.
The wounded security guard was transferred to a nearby hospital in light condition, while according to medical sources, the neutralized terrorist who received initial medical care at the scene was also transferred to a hospital in severe condition. Separately, near the West Bank town of Kalandia, a Palestinian motorist who arrived at the Kalandia crossing, which is the main security checkpoint between the northern West Bank and Jerusalem, accelerated his vehicle and rammed into an Israeli border security guard. Consequently, security forces at the scene overpowered the attacker and apprehended him. The wounded border security guard was treated at the scene and subsequently evacuated in light condition to a Jerusalem hospital for further treatment. Turning to the United Nations headquarters in New York, where Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas proclaimed in his address to the United Nations General Assembly that whoever believes that peace is achievable without granting the Palestinian statehood is delusional, while naturally blaming Israel for the years-old political process for achieving Palestinian aspirations.
واهم من يظن بأن السلام يمكن أن يتحقق في الشرق الأوسط دون أن يحصل الشعب الفلسطيني على كامل حقوقه الوطنية المشروعة.
In a speech marred with countless historic inaccuracies, President Abbas went on to relay a message to Israel, claiming that the Jewish state has no claim over the so-called West Bank, insisting despite historical truths to the contrary, that the Palestinians lived in the referred to territories for thousands of years.
رسالة اليوم للإسرائيليين هي أن هذا الاحتلال البغيض الذي يمارسونه ضدنا لن يدوم مهما كانت الأطماع. والأوهام، لأن الشعب الفلسطيني باق على أرضه التي سكنها منذ آلاف السنين جيلا بعد جيل.
Following the Palestinian leader's assertions, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded by opening his address at the United Nations General Assembly earlier today by citing remarks by Moses, who addressed the people of Israel before entering the Promised Land, according to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11. While the biblical event referred to highlights the requirement to follow God's commandments in return for blessings and the curse of those who do not, Netanyahu utilized the remarks by Moses to highlight the blessings of peace at a time when Israel aspires to widen its own circle of peace with its neighbors.
Why were these good intentions? Why did they always meet failure? Because they were based on one false idea, that unless we first concluded a peace agreement with the Palestinians, no other Arab state would normalize its relations with Israel. I've long sought to make peace with the Palestinians, but I also believed that we must not give the Palestinians a veto over new peace treaties with Arab states. The Palestinians could greatly benefit from a broader peace. They should be part of that process, but they should not have a veto over the process. And I also believe that making peace with more Arab states would actually increase the prospects of making peace between Israel and the Palestinians.
Netanyahu went on to recount events that ultimately brought about the signing of the historic Abraham Accords approximately 3 years ago. And while affirming that the Abraham Accords heralded a new dawn of a new age of peace, he proclaimed that Israel is at the cusp of an even more dramatic breakthrough.
The Abraham Accords heralded the dawn of a new age of peace. But I believe that we are at the cusp of an even more dramatic breakthrough, an historic peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Such a peace will go a long way to ending the Arab-Israeli conflict. It will encourage other Arab states to normalize their relations with Israel. It will enhance the prospects of peace with the Palestinians. It will encourage a broader reconciliation between Judaism and Islam, between Jerusalem and Mecca, between the descendants of Isaac and the descendants of Ishmael.
Netanyahu went on to address the curse of the region, which will stop at nothing to block any peace efforts between Israel and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
You know there's a fly in this ointment, because rest assured, the fanatics ruling Iran will do everything they can to thwart this historic peace. Iran continues to spend billions to arm its terror proxies. It continues to extend its terror tentacles in the Middle East, Europe, Asia, South America, even North America.
While murdering and arresting hundreds of brave Iranian citizens, all the while fomenting terror throughout the Middle East and beyond, Netanyahu voiced outrage over the projected indifference by the international community.
Iran's drones and missile program threaten Israel and our Arab neighbors, and Iran's drones have brought and bring death and destruction to innocent people in the Ukraine. Yet the regime's aggression is largely met by indifference in the international community.
Netanyahu went on to highlight the failure by Western nations to follow up on their own threats vis-à-vis Iran. Nevertheless, as long as he is Prime Minister of the State of Israel, Netanyahu proclaimed, Israel will thwart the Islamic Republic's nuclear ambitions. Turning to Yemen, where the Houthi Iranian proxy held a military parade during which they reasserted their vow, which is the organization's motto, to bring destruction to the United States and Israel. The military parade took place with a clear intention to send a signal to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
إذ نحتفل إذ نعزز ونقدم رسالة مفادها أننا شعب يمني جاهز للسلام العادل والمشرف، لكننا في نفس الوقت أيدينا على الزناد لمواجهة أي عدوان وأي اعتداء على بلدنا أو استمرار في قمع شعبنا والاعتداء عليه.
Another Houthi official proclaimed that unless the Saudis accept the terms of the Iranian proxy for peace, the alternative would be war. Turning to Israel, where the IDF and U.S. Central Command concluded a joint missile defense exercise utilizing all of the Israeli and American missile defense systems to simulate a long list of threats during a multi-sector war.
זה עתה הסתיים תרגיל הגנה אווירית משותף ישראלי-אמריקאי במעבדת הקרב באלביט מערכות. המעבדה פותחה במשותף על ידי הסוכנות להגנה מטילים האמריקאית ומנהלת חומה שבמשרד הביטחון מפע"ת. שילוב מערכות העירות השונות משפר משמעותית את המוכנות של הכוחות אל מול האיומים המשתנים במספר חזיתות במקביל. לראשונה כוחות פיקוד המרכז האמריקאי, סנטקום, ניהלו מהצד האמריקאי את התרגיל לצד לוחמי מערך ההגנה של חיל האוויר וחיל הים. האימון שהוכרז כמוצלח הוא נדבך נוסף בשרשרת תהליכי המוכנות והמעבר לפעילות משותפת עם הפיקוד המרכזי סנטקום.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. Keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you a Shabbat Shalom, V'gmar Chatima Tova, and God willing, we'll see you again on Tuesday at the same time.